110, claiming parents as dependents on your taxes. This is a 39.6 Facebook and YouTube Live Finance Show, a show that teaches high earners like yourselves how to make your money work for you so you don't have to work for your money. We talk general investing, taxes, real estate, syndications, Airbnb, paying for childcare, paying for college, and even the car you drive. Today's question comes from the Facebook community, 39.6 community. Please join if you have not yet. We're over 800 members and growing strong. This question is from Lance. Lance asks, please discuss maximizing tax deductions when we have to financially help out our elderly parents. Putting our parents or in-laws as dependents on our tax returns. Maximizing our benefits when we have to pay their expenses. All right. Excellent. So this is not something that I'd actually really thought about much before. I have actually thought about seeing if I could get my mother to put our first child as a dependent on her return before, because we're phased out of all the, we were phased out of the benefits of having a child based on income. However, there is one child dependent care credit that we actually still qualify for because there's actually no ceiling to that one. So we get a little bit of a benefit. But this question is about your parents. Okay. So there's not really huge deductions here, but there can still be some that help. First of all, your parents have to meet various criteria to even be considered as a dependent first before you can then potentially qualify for those tax credits. Okay, so first, their income has to be low enough. This is probably the most difficult one to meet. The income of a parent has to be less than $4,300 for the entire year. However, you can exclude Social Security in most situations. Okay, it gets a little bit confusing because Social Security can be considered depending on certain other situations, but in general, it's what is the income outside of Social Security. Okay, now there are a lot of elderly people in this country who live off of just Social Security. So yeah, they would likely qualify, but it's only $4,300 otherwise. So that's like $350 a month. It's not much. Okay, it's like $12 a day or so. Okay, so that's the first criteria. They have to have, and this is per person, and the income limitation can't be more than that. So then second is you have to prove that you're supporting them. They don't necessarily have to live in your physical homestead for you to be supporting them and to have a tax deduction, at least from what I understand. But you do have to support them with most of their expenses being supported by you. Okay. So you have to add up all of their income over the course of a year, including Social Security now. So this is a separate criteria. So you include all of their revenue, including Social Security, and you look at how much you have spent on their care. And if it exceeds their income for the year, then you are providing the majority of their care. So more than 50% of their care. So then you meet what's called the support requirement. Okay, now, if they're living in your house, yes, you can find a fair market valuation of the room they're in. They're a split of the utilities based on proportion of all the utilities in the house, include the cost of groceries for that person. You can, basically estimate this based on proportion of grocery bills. Okay, but also include medical expenses and all of the things that it costs to support your elderly parent. You have to pay for more than half of those. Okay, so you meet those two criteria, the income limitation and the support requirement, then yes, you can include them as a dependent on your taxes. So then how does it help you? Okay, so for children, there's what's called the child tax credit, and that's $2,000 per child with no limit from my understanding. But that phases out in the $400,000 income range. Okay, I think from 400 to 440. However, and this is they kind of slid this one in here, it's still under the child tax credit, but it doesn't have to be a child. You can actually include adults or non-children from what I have read. So this could include your parent, and they would quote unquote get the child tax credit because it falls under that category or that box, but it's not $2,000 per person anymore. It's only $500 of a tax credit. So it's $500 back into your pocket. It's better than a $500 deduction, which would only save you at most 37% times 500 at the federal level. So what's that? About $200 or so, a little bit less than that. Okay. But you get a credit of $500. Okay, so that saves a little bit. There's also the dependent care credit. Remember, I said that that's the one thing that we actually still get a credit for because there's no ceiling for dependent care. So when we're working and we have our kids with our nanny or with in daycare, those costs are eligible for the dependent care credit, but it caps off at it's a range of 20% to 35% based on what your income is, and up to $3,000 as a multiplier per dependent. So let's just pretend it's 20% times $3,000 at $600. That's the amount of dependent care credit that we qualified for, basically, because we're based on our income, we're at the 20% number. Okay, but this also gets offset by having an FSA for dependent care. But assuming you don't have an FSA, there you go. It's like $600. Or if your income is low enough, it's 35% times 3,000. So that'd be like $1,050. So that is another credit that you could be eligible for. Okay, but you'd have to actually be paying somebody to take care of that person while you are working in order to qualify. If you are working and your spouse is taking care, that does not count. That does not qualify. Okay, then the last one is medical expenses. Now, medical expenses, medical and dental expenses are still included on Schedule A as an itemizable deduction. Most people, again, are not itemizing on Schedule A because they are taking the standard deduction, because married filing jointly is $24,800 this year. Okay, and SALT is cut off at $10,000, but the Schedule A in the top, medical and dental expenses, however, there's a hurdle you need to get past, and that is 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. Let's pretend your adjusted gross income is $300,000, and you were to take 7.5% of that. That's $22,500. That amount would be the hurdle you need to get past before any amount is deductible on Schedule A. So if you had $20,000 of expenses and your AGI was $300,000, you're falling under the $22,500 hurdle. So none of that is deductible on Schedule A. If it were $30,000, you'd have to subtract the $22,500 off, and you'd be left with $7,500. So that $7,500 would go onto your Schedule A. Then you have your property tax, that could be $10,000, or state tax, $10,000. So that would get you up to $17,500. Then if you have a mortgage and mortgage interest, and that is, let's say, $10,000, then you're up to $27,500. So now you've made it above the standard deduction of $22,800. So it helped a little bit. You get like another $4,000 deduction, save you like $1,200 in tax or so. So unless you have like a lot of medical expenses, it's really hard for that to make a huge difference, because for a lot of people, your high income, your adjusted gross income times 7.5% is a high number. And usually elderly people still have insurance because they qualify for Medicare. So their medical expenses may be limited to like 20% if they don't have some other supplement covering the part beyond that. Okay, so that's really about it. There's not a lot, but there's some that you can have to help decrease your tax burden if you are taking care of your parents. Okay, that is it for today's episode number 110. The chat box is broken on my end, so if somebody asks me a question, I apologize. I can't see it today. Tomorrow will be episode 111. Also tomorrow, if you are in the Leverage and Growth Accelerator program, I will be on a panel discussing active versus passive real estate investing. And this will be in the afternoon, and it will be at, I believe, around 4 o'clock Central Time. So check it out. It'll also be recorded, I believe, and saved in that group. A lot of awesome people in there, so I'm super excited about it. Again, this is only for my entertainment, maybe yours. This is not tax advice. I am not a certified public accountant, CPA, whatever it's called, or a financial professional. Take care. Have a great night.